Hi, this is Steve at heavenlysign2017.com, and I'm going to try to get through this without running out of breath. Listen, folks, the blood moons of 2014 through 2015 with the solar eclipse, God is showing us something. He's trying to get our attention here. No more lunar tetrad for a long, long time. Israel becoming a nation again. The Knesset in 1950 passing a resolution declaring Jerusalem the capital of Israel. The Hebrew year 5778 being 2017 to 2018 on our calendar. 120 years from the first Zionist Congress, God is trying to get our attention. 100 years since the Balfour Declaration giving Israel the right to be a nation. 70 years since Israel was declared a state. 50 years from the capture of Jerusalem and the Temple Mount. 40 years from the Camp David Accord and Israel's conflict with Lebanon. Yes, God is trying to get our attention. 120 equals the length of years, Genesis 6:3. 100 equals bondage. 70 equals prophecy complete in a time period for suffering. 50, the Jubilee, release of debt and peace. Yavel, significance. Yavel carries three meanings: ram's horn, jubilee, and to be carried. So the time will come when we will be yaveled or carried off to our eternal resting place, and God is trying to get our attention. 40 equals testing. We've got the 30, 20, 30, 20, 30 year cycle pattern of 1897 to 2017. You'll see that on our website. The sun's surface temperature being 5778 Kelvin, and the diameter of the sun and its correlation to 5778. God is trying to get our attention. The Revelation 12 sign alignment, its uniqueness, its timing, and its meaning. Abraham born in 1948 years after Adam. Israel, the nation, born in 1948. God's covenant with Abraham 2018 years after the first Adam. God is trying to get our attention. The Great American Solar Eclipse. Let's talk about it. August 21st, 2017. 33 days before the Revelation 12 sign. 40 days from the eclipse to Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. God is trying to get our attention. The beginning of the year 5778 to the exact time of the Revelation 12 sign alignment. 40 hours exactly. God's trying to get our attention. The solar eclipse to the Revelation 12 sign, 33 days. The word Amen is the numeric equivalent of 33. The 2024 solar eclipse and its intersecting the 2017 eclipse. Its unique coordinates and its relationship to Gideon Church Road, which you'll see in one of our videos. God is trying to get our attention. The 2017 solar eclipse being the anniversary of Moses' second carving of the tablets and their 40-day following atonement. From the beginning of our timeline, September the 21st, to the second day of Tabernacles on 9/21/24, 2024, is 7 years exactly. God is trying to get our attention. Just the amazing 7-year gap between the two eclipses in 2017 and 2024. We don't find such a 7-year gap between eclipses in either the last century or our present century. So why a 7-year gap now? Because God is trying to get our attention. 2018 to 1948, 70 years from Abraham's birth to his covenant with God. November 20th, the day Jupiter entered the womb of Virgo. In the year 250, Emperor Decius begins his widespread persecution of Jews in Rome. What happened on November 20th, 1920? The same day that Jupiter entered the womb, the ACLU was founded, leading to Roe versus Wade, which would make 2021, the tribulation midpoint on our timeline, 100 years forward from that day. November 20th, the day Jupiter entered Virgo in the year 1959, the UN adopts Universal Children's Day. Roe versus Wade would follow 14 years to the day later. exactly 1,260 days forward from the beginning of 5778, or September the 21st, 2017. The sun aligns itself with Aquarius, water buckets, pouring out living water to Piscis australis, the southern fish. In 1954, Eisenhower put "under God" in the U.S. Pledge of Allegiance. 1954 to 2024, 70 years, or 7 years after 5777. On January the 20th, 1981, American hostages held for 444 days are freed by Iran by the 40th President, Ronald Reagan. January 20th, 2017, Donald Trump is inaugurated the 44th President. Exactly 700 days after Trump is born, and on the same 14th day of the calendar, Israel is reborn. He won the election on Prime Minister Netanyahu's 7th year, 7th month, and 7th day in office. And he served his first full day in the White House at the age of 70 years, 7 months, and 7 days old. Trump was born June 14, 1946. 40 years, 4 days later, Justice Scalia is nominated Supreme Court Justice. 7 years exactly to the day from when Jupiter exits the womb of Virgo to the second coming of Christ on our Alpha to Omega timeline. God is trying to get our attention. From the blood moon on Feast of Trumpets, September 13th, 2015, to September 13th, 2024, is the second coming date on our Alpha to Omega timeline. It is 9 years exact. Exactly 1335 days from September 21 to Pentecost 2021. The Balfour Declaration, November 2nd, 1917 to 10/20/17, where the tribulation begins on our timeline, is 12 days short of being 100 years exact. June 7, 1967, when Jerusalem was recaptured to the Revelation 12 sign, is a jubilee, 50 years. 11/29/47, when the UN partitioned Palestine, to 11/27/2024 on our timeline, 77 years to the day. God's trying to get our attention. Tabernacles 9/13/54 to 9/13/24. The Atonement, second coming on our timeline, 70 years exact. Eva Sukkot, Tabernacles 9/23/2010 to Revelation 12 sign 9/23/17. 7 years exact. God is trying to get our attention. From the fall of Babylon, 10/1/539 BC, to the Day of Atonement, 9/30/17, 5,222 years exactly, and 5,222 days from Trumpets 2017 to the first day of the Feast of Tabernacles 2024. God is trying to get our attention. Let's look at these past 4 blood moon tetrads again. 3.5 years from the first one to the beginning of the tribulation on our timeline. 7 years minus 14 days. First blood moon to the mid-trib point on our timeline. 10 years from the second blood moon to the blessed day on the timeline. 10 years from the first blood moon to 9/13/24. Atonement, second coming on our timeline. Also on our timeline, the second coming lands exactly on Atonement, September 13, 2024, followed by Tabernacles 4 days later. Folks, 4/22/33 AD was Jesus' crucifixion date, which aligns with Passover, the midpoint on the Alpha to Omega timeline. 77 years exact from the UN resolution to the blessed day on the timeline. Exact. God is trying to get our attention. 6,000 days exactly from Israel's rebirth, China becomes the world's 5th nuclear power, October 16th, 1964. Numbers mean something, folks, and God is trying to get our attention. On Israel's Independence Day, 1968, 20 years after the War of Independence, the Israel Defense Forces marched into Jerusalem with a display of might. 20 years. God's trying to get our attention. February 28, 1961, JFK nominates Henry Kissinger, special advisor. 1,000 days later, exactly, Kennedy is laid to rest at Arlington, November 25, 1963. God deals in numbers, folks. God gives Israel its victory in its 6-day war. What happened 7 years later? Well, because Israel didn't turn back to him, God gave Israel the Ayatollah Khomeini, who calls for an Islamic Republic of Iran, which initiates the rebirth of the Islamic Caliphate, the deadly wound that was healed. God is trying to get our attention. Haggai and Zechariah prophecy from 520 to 518 BC, encouraging the nation to rebuild the temple. 3410, the year of Zechariah's prophecy on the Hebrew calendar, plus 2368 equals 5778. 2368 years equals 864,893 days, which is the diameter of the sun in miles, if you calculate it from the exact date of Zechariah's prophecy on the Hebrew calendar. God is dealing with numbers, and he's showing us this stuff, and he's trying to get our attention. You don't have the comfort or the blessed hope of a pre-trib rapture. Enoch, a type of the church, and Noah and his family, a type of Israel. Enoch walked with God, and then wham, he's no more. God took him. Pre-flood. Joseph, a type of the church, took a Gentile bride before the 7-year famine. And you people still want to believe you're going to go through the tribulation. Daniel was a type of the church. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, types of Israel, go into the 7 times hotter fiery furnace, and they get saved in the midst of it. They meet Jesus in the midst of the 7 times hotter furnace, and they get saved out of it, just like Israel will come to a true saving knowledge of Christ in the midst of the 7-year tribulation period. Whereas Daniel wasn't there, but was taken up and exalted to a high position prior to the 7 times hotter fiery furnace, and you people want to think you're going to go through the great tribulation period. The covenant with Abraham was made in the year 2018 on the Hebrew calendar. 3760 years later brings us to the year 5778, which is 2018 on our calendar. Methuselah was 969 years of age when he died in 1656, the year of the flood on the Hebrew calendar. 1656 equals 6, the number of man, times 276. The number of souls saved from a shipwreck in Acts 27, 276. God deals with numbers, and he's trying to get our attention. Birth of Abraham, 1948 on the Hebrew calendar, to the covenant with Abraham, 2018 on the Hebrew calendar, 70 years. And the rebirth of Israel, 1948 on our calendar, 5708 on the Hebrew calendar, to 2018 Gregorian calendar, 5778 Hebrew calendar, 70 years. God's dealing with numbers. He's trying to get our attention. Moses received the Torah at Mount Sinai in the year 2448 on the Hebrew calendar. That was 3330 years ago. 2448 plus 3330 is, you guessed it, 5778. God's trying to get our attention. The firstborn of Methuselah, Lamech, he lived 777 years and then he died. 666 times 5778 is 3,848,148. 3 plus 848 plus 148 equals 999, the number of final purification. He's trying to get our attention. Folks, don't underestimate the significance of and the mention of certain numbers like 7, 12, 40, 49, 50, 70, 490, and so on. 7 days, God's basic time cycle. 6 days of work followed by a day of rest. 7 weeks, 49 days. The time between Feast of First Fruits, Feast of Pentecost. 7 months. First 7 months of the Jewish year contain all 7 feasts. 7 years. Work 6, let the land rest for a year. 49 years. Time between each celebration of Jubilee year. Searching historical records for specific dates in Jewish history, you'll discover there are 2 days that had a remarkable number of significant occurrences. Tishri 1 and Nisan 15. While every other day in Jewish history had between 3 to 15 notable events, these 2 were upwards of 50. Now here's just a few events that have taken place on Tishri 1, Rosh Hashanah, New Moon, and Feast of Trumpets. Adam and Eve are created. Noah's birthday. Sarah conceives Isaac. Isaac blesses Jacob. Rachel conceives Joseph. Joseph's released from prison. Pharaoh freed Israelites from slavery. These are just a few. God is trying to get our attention. Now, if we apply all these events with the one-time event which takes place in the heavens, September the 23rd, we got to ask the basic question: could this all be coincidence? If you take the meaning of each star and planet through all the cultures for Regulus, Venus, Mars, Mercury, Sun, Spica, Jupiter, and the Moon, the message is clear. When we put it together, it says, the King, the Lion of Judah, the morning star of love, the coming war, the written word, the one who breathed life into being and light into darkness, is gathering the wheat. The King is arriving as lightning with grace for his virgin. That's what it all means when you put it all together. God is trying to get our attention. And folks, all of this is just the tip of the iceberg. This was compiled for the blessing of the saints, as well as a warning to those who need Christ. Blow the trumpet loud. The question is not, what more do we need? God's given us enough. The real question is, what have we not seen? The depths of his gold mine of truth is endless. God, through his creative majesty and sovereign wonders, has left us no excuse to deny the overwhelming evidence that he's placed before us, if our hearts take time to look. I love you guys, and until next time, this is Steve. Thanks for watching.